About a year ago, I finished my first indie game, and I thought, now I know how to make a game. I had a big idea, and I wanted to start a 3D top-down game similar to Hades and Diablo. But that was a mistake. I got stuck, client work took over, and eventually, I completely stopped making my game. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Eric. I am a software engineer, and about a year ago, I started my journey as an indie game developer, trying to build my own indie games. I managed to finish my first small game. I was really happy about it and was happy with the results, which gave me enough confidence to think, okay, now let's make something bigger. At the beginning of 2026, I started working on my second game. I knew I wanted to make a 3D top-down isometric game, similar to Diablo and Hades-like, with some horror elements mixed in. And for about 2 months, things were actually going pretty well. Then, I hit my first major problem. Character mechanic issues. I purchased several all-in-one asset tools, thinking I can try to build a game way faster. But I realized something. I didn't really understand the tools or what I was building. I couldn't get things to work. When something broke, I didn't always understand why it broke, how to fix it, and then life happened. Outside of game development, I work an 8 to 5 full-time job. I have a family, and I also had client website projects that I needed to finish. So something had to give. Unfortunately, it was my game development. 1 week became 2, 2 weeks became a month, and eventually, I wasn't working on my game at all. But I never really stopped thinking about my game. I kept watching other game developers, YouTube devlogs, and honestly, seeing other indie devs build their own game kept reminding me, I still want to make this game. I want to create a game that people enjoy playing. So this past July, I decided to stop worrying about my game and got back into learning. I started taking Unity tutorials again. I went back to coding fundamentals. C# Unity patterns, character controls, Unity workflows, the things I wasn't familiar with before. And somewhere in the process, I realized the biggest mistake I made when starting my second game. I was trying to build too much too soon. One piece of advice that I kept hearing from other developers, like Thomas Brush, Jonas Tyroller, and Code Monkey, was simply make smaller games. Finish them, and then make another. But that was actually the opposite of what I was doing. I finished my first game in 6 months. Then I decided, I can make a Diablo, Hades, horror, everything right. I finished one small game and immediately thought I was ready to make a Diablo-like. Apparently, that's not how it works. I decided to change the plan a little. I was still making my kind of game I want, but dramatically reducing the scope. So what am I actually making? I'm working with a good friend of mine, Paul, who's a serious gamer. We have been developing the concept together for the new game. Right now, the idea is a small 3D top-down horror roguelike. You play as a female protagonist trapped in a world where different dimensions and different civilizations are starting to collide. We are experimenting with influences from the Maya and Greek mythology. There's a lot to the story that we haven't figured out yet, but that's okay, because this time I'm not spending 6 months of designing a giant huge game on paper. I'm actually going to build it. And I am giving myself 10 months. Yes, 10 months. I have created a rough 10-month roadmap to make this game from where it's at today, which is technically 0, to a full game in about 10 months. I'll break down the full 10-month plan in another video because there's a lot that went into deciding what I can realistically build while working a full-time job. Which brings me to this project. The game I started earlier this year, there was some work there that was done, movements, experiments, systems I tried, and normally you would think I should just continue from here, right? Well, I'm not going to. I'm starting over, not because everything here is bad, but because I understand the game I am building now. I understand Unity better. And most important, I understand my limitations better. Enough talking about becoming an indie game developer. It's time to start making the game again. Day 0, 10 months, one game, and hopefully this time I can actually finish it. If you're building your own game, learning Unity, or you're just curious to see whether I can actually pull this off, you're welcome to follow my journey. And as always, build, play, and inspire, and see you in the next video. Thanks.